Hello, folks. You are tuned into another episode of Listen in 3D. This is episode number 80. I'm your boy Justin, aka Too Tall for You Fool.
And I'm Ray, aka Vandal Society.
All right, and together we are both Team 3D, the host of Listen in 3D, where we discuss, dissect, and debate the music and albums in the world of hip hop and other genres. Like what you're seeing, like this video, give us a comment if you want to give us any type of feedback, positive or negative. Share it around wherever you can. And most importantly, subscribe. Want to help us out one step further? Click on that notification bell. That way, when any of our shorts, reels, or episodes go live, you are the first to know about it. And you can just come right there and just, watch it. And then just also check us out on Instagram too. We got a lot of good stuff going on over there. And podcasting, if you want to podcast a show, if you don't have time to watch our beautiful faces, go ahead. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. I have a pod link in the description and on the main YouTube page as well. All right, so this album, some it gets a lot of mixed reaction, and it kind of pains me to say this because when it came out, it did really well. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, when it comes to this album, like, why so much, I don't want to say hate, or why not so much love for it like this artist's other albums that he's done well before and after. What are your thoughts on that before we get into it?
I think a lot of it has to do with it was during the time when Dre was already 1 foot out the door with Death Row,
Mm-hmm.
and so a lot of the production that people were used to on the Doggy Style album, you know, Snoop Dogg on Doggy Style came with it.
Mm-hmm.
That was his first album, so he came hard at it,
Yeah.
and all the production was there, all the guest features were there, so it was just like they were really working hard to build up Snoop as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Dogfather, like I said, Dre was already one step out of the door. Pac was just killed like a couple months prior to this,
Yeah.
and a lot was going on with Death Row, so I think the confidence wasn't really there, and I kind of think it reflects in a lot of the tracks on this album. But
Yeah.
here it
Okay.
is, like despite all that, this is
Mm.
probably my favorite between Doggy Style and the Dogfather.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Explain what album we're doing today, if they
So
already don't know.
today we're doing the Dogfather album.
Mm.
It's Snoop Dogg's sophomore album out of Death Row. It was released November 12th, 1996 through Death Row Interscope Records. Certified 2 times platinum. It peaked at number 1 on the top R&B and hip hop albums and number 1 on Billboard 200. The singles on the album are Snoop's Upside Your Head, Vapors, and The Dogfather. And the music videos are the same as well as the singles, Upside Your Head, Vapors, and The Dogfather. The guest appearances are Charlie Wilson from the Gap Band, Tina Marie, The Dog Pound, LBC Crew, Too Short, Superfly, Nate Dogg, Warren G, Trady, and Tupac, aka Machiavelli.
All right. Thank you for that. So this is not Tupac, Snoop Dogg's second album. I was gonna say Tupac, I don't know why, but this is his second album that we are discussing today. This is his the last album he did under the Snoop Doggy Dogg name before just dropping Doggy from the name and just going with Snoop Dogg, which I think was a great move.
Before he shortened it, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Before he
Yeah,
officially shortened it. I mean, I think people
yeah,
were already calling him Snoop Dogg anyway, but
that's true. Yeah.
so I thought that was pretty cool. So I mean, we already talked Snoop Dogg already. We did Doggy Style. If I can find that episode number, it was episode 31, I believe. For anyone that wants to check that out really quick, well, not whenever they get some time. But yeah, it was episode 30. Actually, no, not episode 30. Yes, episode
Oh,
30. I'll link it in the description if you guys want to check that out. So I'm not gonna get too much into his backstory, but I mean, we've discussed before. Snoop, remember the 213, came up,
yeah.
with Warren G being Dr. Dre's stepbrother, and he and Warren G are best friends. They're not cousins. I know that's been kind of a I've seen videos where they think that
That's crazy.
that they
They
think him and
they
Warren G are
connected them
cousins.
as
That's
cousins.
Daz is his little cousin. So
Yeah, Dad's his cousin right
Daz
there.
is his cousin. So just want
Yeah,
to clear that up. So this is the second album. Just a lot was going on with Snoop. The previous year with that whole murder case and everything, and he
right.
beat that murder charge. Went in the studio, did this. Just and just listening to it, and just when we get into some of the singles, it was pretty solid album for the most part. I actually do have the CD right here. I bought the CD,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
so I don't hate on this album or anything. I think it's still in fair condition. I don't have the case like
Oh,
most of my
okay.
CDs. I don't have this on vinyl, so
Yeah. Do you
and
remember when you bought that album or when you bought the CD?
uh, it was after the peak of it wasn't in 1996. That much I can tell
Oh, okay.
you, or
Yeah.
97. It was probably some. When did I get it? I want to say it was probably sometime my freshman or sophomore year of college because that's when I was buying like a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
old school
For sure.
CDs and stuff. So yeah, I know that's when I got like a lot of my Bone CDs was during that time, my
Oh,
freshman
okay.
year of college. So if
For, yeah, for me, just want to shout out to my mom real quick. She's the one that actually bought me the CD because she was going to Target. The time it came out around that time, I went to the store. She's like, "Oh, do you want anything from the store?" And I told her, "Mom, get the Snoop Dogg album, The Dogfather." And I described how the album cover looks and everything. So she came home with it, and yeah, I've just had that CD since then. I need to get a new one because this one's pretty scratched up, and I still have the album cover and everything, but I need to swap out the
you need a
the
new
jewel
disc.
for the CD case. Yeah,
Oh, for sure, for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, just yeah. Well, you have an awesome mom because I
Yeah,
think
she
if I
put
had
me on
asked
a
for,
lot.
I
Yeah, she
think if
put
I
me
had
on a
asked for
lot
her
of
during
music.
about that time, I think the answer would have been no. But
Oh, yeah. No, her, and a lot of my family members put me onto a lot of music back then.
Mhm.
I think that's where it just all stemmed from,
Yeah, like I've said before, hip hop, I kind of had to find it. So I mean,
for sure.
yeah, it wasn't given to me. I definitely had to work for it
Oh,
when it came to listening. So that's pretty cool. Do would you ever consider picking up the vinyl for this one?
this one, yeah, I would, and also I would pick up a doggy style as well. I haven't really came around to it. When I go digging at the store, I'm mainly looking like I'm in my zone, and I kind of just look for the stuff I usually get, and I kind of just pass up like the full albums and all that. But yeah, this one I would pick up on vinyl.
All right, cool, cool. I mean, me personally, I probably wouldn't pick it up on vinyl. I
No,
mean, but I mean that's just my personal choice.
yeah.
But I do have Doggy Style on vinyl. I got the recent 30-year anniversary of
Oh,
Doggy
okay, nice.
Style
Yeah,
with the G's Up Holes Down song that got taken off after that after the first original
yeah,
pressings went out or whatever. So because of that Isaac Hayes sample, so I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah. That was cool.
so
That
I
was like my one of my favorite songs on that album too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I heard it. I mean, it was one of those death row compilations they put out years later. But yeah,
Oh,
just
okay.
so I mean, I had heard it, but but the fact that it was on the original was pretty cool. So yeah. So anyway, so just pre-listening thoughts. Like, what do you expect going in? Like when your mom brought you home the CD, were you expecting it to be better than Doggy Style to have that fire? I
Um,
mean, yes.
Honestly, I think from what I remember at that age, I still held up Doggy Style as his better album back then.
Mhm.
We only had two albums from him during that time, and I was like, sixth grade or seventh grade during that time, and yeah, I prefer Doggy Style more during that time. I
Okay.
think over the years, I kind of grew into liking Dogfather a lot more though. As I
Oh,
got a little bit older, I think,
okay.
yeah, I just started favoring Dogfather more.
All right. Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I didn't really expect too much. After it was Snoop Dogg, I know the production was a little different when I started listening in.
Yeah.
I think it's a more mature album, and a lot of people I know like to rank gangster rap albums. I think this is a little more gangster than Doggy Style. I think.
Yeah.
I think
I
lyric wise.
Yeah, like I think with the same type of approach as
Mm,
like Nas, it was written, and
mm,
Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt. During this whole time, it was just like he went with the Dogfather as his title, and that was kind of like, the Godfather
yeah,
in a sense, and on a play on that. And then same thing with his music video, the Dogfather single. Right
yeah,
there on that video, there's a reference from the mob movies.
yeah.
I believe the Goodfellas, there was a reference right there in the
Okay.
beginning. So they kind of had like that whole mafia style um, thing going on during that time, during that
Yeah.
era.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he wasn't the only one that to do that. Well, speaking of which, and now that you mentioned it, let's get into the artwork and the Dogfather. Looking at it, Snoop Doggy Dog, his face. It
Yeah,
definitely does have that Godfather feel to it. Kind of
yeah.
like the Fugees in the score. A little bit
Oh
too.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So,
yeah.
um,
The album cover art, I always liked. I think that's what I liked as well.
mm,
And why I felt like this was his more sophisticated work. He was, dressed up in a suit. He looked
yeah,
real, real like an OG right there. Compared to his Doggy Style album. And I just like the cover art. You know, the photo with him and the Rolls Royce. It just looked
yeah.
real elegant, real sophisticated, and that's what caught my
Yeah, he
attention.
definitely is more mature just by looking at his photo compared to
Yeah,
Doggy Style. Definitely, Doggy Style, he was the YG, the young gangster. Now it's more.
yeah.
I'm growing up now a little bit. So, and then he grows
That
up
too,
even.
and then yeah, and then during that time, he had already
Mm,
beat the murder
yeah,
case. So
so I think he's definitely more mature, and then I think obviously as we've seen later with Snoop down the line, he gets a lot more mature as well. So I think this was
right,
like the a new beginning for him, I guess you could say.
yeah,
Not to take anything away from what he did previously, but it was definitely a new beginning.
yeah, definitely set a new chapter in his life.
So, yeah, yeah, definitely. So anyway, so yeah, I think the artwork pretty good, pretty generic. So
Yeah,
anyway, so let's get into beats production. I know Daz, I think, was the new head of production at Death Row during that time. What did you like that he laid out in terms of beats?
yeah. Speaking of Daz, like most of the production
Mm-hmm.
on the album that I do like most of the beats I did like were from Daz
Mm-hmm.
that he had produced. Like my favorite beats were the Dogfather, and he Daz produced that.
Okay.
I also like Groupie. Daz produced that one as well.
Groupie.
And
That's
Snoop's
it.
Upside Your Head, that was one of my favorite. But that one was from DJ Pooh.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
those are my favorite ones as far as the beats go.
Yeah. For me, I definitely like Snoop's Upside Your Head. I think that was a well produced beat.
Yeah,
Definitely another one I got to go with was Up Jump the Boogie. I thought that was a great beat. Also,
that one
DJ
was good.
Pooh produced that one, and one more. I like the track Blueberry. Sam Snead produced that
Oh,
one,
okay.
so
Yeah,
yeah, that was a nice produced track also. And then, but the production on here was pretty good for the most part. Like I said, it didn't have the Dr. Dre touch, so I can probably see why some people were probably turned off by it. But I mean, I don't think it's a reason to dump on it like a lot of people do. And I don't think
yeah,
this album was like a
yeah,
sophomore slump or anything. I mean, it went double platinum. It peaked at number one. Maybe it
and
was
and
that
I
initial success, maybe, and then after that, people may have forgotten about it. I don't know, but
Yeah, and like you said, people probably felt that way because it wasn't any tracks on there produced by Dre. But
mm,
that kind of that's why I think I always like Daz more as far as a producer, because he was kind of like the underdog in a sense, and at Death Row when it comes to the production, like he produced quite a bit of good tracks where people thought Dre might have done it if they didn't really look into it.
yeah,
Like a lot of songs on All Eyes on Me, Daz produced it.
mm,
Like Two of America's Most Wanted, Ambitions as a writer. Like he did all that, and a lot of times people thought Dre did it. So I
Yeah.
think right here, Daz really got to flex more on his production as well as he did in all the other albums before that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I liked those beats right there. I liked Snoop's Upside Your Head. I liked how Charlie Wilson from the Gap Band was featured on there.
Yeah.
That was like one of my favorites right there. He added like the nice touch to it.
Yeah, that definitely that sample they did with the Gap Band, that was a really really good song. Speaking of that, oh well, actually, let me do my so actually, yeah, I already said my beats. Let's get into album singles. Snoop's Upside Your Head. It was the first song I heard from this album, and
Yeah,
it
same.
didn't disappoint. It was a pretty catchy song. I think it was a great way to fire off, the promotion for this album and, get people
Yeah,
excited, and I'm pretty sure it's what got a lot of people into the record stores going to get the album, with
yeah,
that
that's
song
what did it for
alone.
me.
Just, I
Yeah,
mean, it was a really good song, and I think it's one of his more underrated, greatest hits, in terms of just people listening to it and, just, I think a lot of people low key kind of forget about it until they hear it. I don't think he
yeah.
really does it at a whole lot of shows that he does. So, I mean, I could be wrong, but I've only seen Snoop perform live once. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I doubt he does that one at the shows. He has so many singles out now,
yeah,
from all those albums. He probably picks some more commercial favorites.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
But I thought that was, a great song. And then in terms of the music video, I had never seen the music video until, starting to do research for this album. So,
yeah.
low key, like just yesterday is when I first saw it for the first time. Well, maybe I'd seen it on MTV years ago, but that was like the first time I remember seeing it.
That
It
yeah,
was,
that's true too. Because I never really looked up the music videos for this album
okay.
growing up. Even when YouTube came started up,
Yeah.
I didn't really sought out any old Snoop Dogg videos. Um, I have quite a few of his on DVD and VHS from
Mhm.
years ago, but that was all from the Doggy Style album. Those
Yeah.
two. But yeah,
Yeah.
I never looked up the music videos for the Dogfather.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I mean, me personally, I just wasn't watching MTV a whole lot during that time until
yeah.
the next year when the Vapors came out. When I was watching
Oh, okay.
MTV a little more, so that music video I clearly do remember. It was actually a pretty cool music video too. How he, you know, just um, just goes talking, talking about
Like
himself and his three friends, well,
yeah,
two
that
friends and
was
cousin. That very good song, and I like how he uses his old school influences, Biz Marquee.
from Biz Markie.
Yeah, and oh yeah,
Yeah,
shout out to him.
that,
He was in the video, by the way. He was.
yeah. Yeah, the Vapors was one of my favorites as well because of
uh,
that. Every verse, he was talking about his friends. He starts off
yeah.
with talking about Nate Dogg, and then he talks about his cousin, Daz, and then he talks about Warren G, and then lastly on the last verse he talks about
Yeah.
himself, about coming up in all about how all of them came up in Long Beach and in the hip
Mm.
hop scene. That was one of my favorites right there.
Yeah, it was a very good song, and then, like I said, just I mean, R.I.P. Biz Marquee. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
the original was great too. Check them both out if you guys
yeah,
haven't.
the
Vapors is a
original
very
one
good
was great
song.
too.
I mean, it didn't have the best beat, but definitely it would have been pretty bad if it wasn't a single, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And then, last but not least, The Dogfather. Now, it's a good song. The beat, I mean, I know Daz did it. I just really wasn't feeling it. I just didn't
no.
really feel like it was a good start off to the album with that.
Oh,
But
okay. That's
um,
crazy because I felt like for me that was like a good start off for the album,
okay,
and I think because of the way the
hmm,
beat starts off, and I
yeah,
think yeah, I think for some reason I was like, oh, this is a cool song to start the album. But yeah, it's interesting hearing your perspective of
yeah.
it
I just,
not being as a good start.
I mean, I just, you think Snoop Dogg, you just want something to be a little harder. I think it was just a little too smooth. I
Okay,
think it should have just been like placed somewhere else on the album, but it's a
like
good
track
song.
7
Yeah,
or 8.
yeah, yeah. Maybe like in the
Yeah,
middle
yeah,
or toward the end, maybe. But I
Yeah.
feel like it wasn't it didn't kick it off for me. Like it was like,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
okay, it's just a little smooth,
Yeah,
but is this
that's
the
crazy because
Snoop I know? I don't know. What were you saying?
yeah, it's cool because like how you said, it comes off smooth, and I think that's what I also like about it. You know, it starts off smooth, and it kind of just coincides with his album cover art. He just
Mhm.
looks real, like I said before, sophisticated, and he's more mature now. So it kind of just smoothly, gradually went into the album with that track.
Yeah.
But what I do like too,
Mm,
sorry, the
you're
intro
good.
to the album, they
Mm.
use a lot of sound bites from the murder trial.
Oh yeah, it did.
Yeah, and that's what I like too. It was just actual sound bites of during that time when he was fighting the murder charges, and it was just cool hearing that. And then it jumps into the Dogfather album song, and that one was pretty cool. That transition right there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think it was like I said, not a bad song, just I don't know, maybe I just feel like it could have been, placed somewhere else on the album, but I could definitely see the perspective of why it could definitely start off the album pretty good. What were your thoughts on the video? I thought the video was pretty good. I'm not the biggest fan of black and white videos. Think I've said this several times, but uh,
I liked it. I liked the video to it, and yeah, I do like the black and white. Depending how it's done, how it's
yeah,
shot, and I think it was fitting pretty well for that song,
yeah.
for the
I
content.
think there are a few exceptions. I think it was a very well made video. I think definitely. I think the funny part for me was just Snoop not showing any respect for the club owner or
Yeah.
whatever. And in the end of the video, he just like he lights a cigar or whatever with his finger. He's like,
Oh yeah.
"Ah, give me some ice water."
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny one. All right. So anyway, let's get into our favorites. What makes and breaks this for the album? What were your three favorite tracks, your top tracks, if you can decide? This is one of your favorites, so
Man,
imagining you would have a tough time with this. I don't know, but
I did for top three. Yeah, it was kind of a tough one to really pull, but I would say "Groupie" was one of my favorites.
Groupie. Okay, that
Um,
was a good one.
yeah, I like the production on that. You could definitely tell it was a dad's production.
Mm,
Um, I like Doggyland, and
Doggyland. Okay.
yeah, and of course "Upside Your Head." That was one of my favorites too. The bass line on "Upside Your Head" was one of my favorites. So that really stood out. And like I said, with Charlie Wilson on there, I've always been a fan of the Gap Band.
Mm,
Once again, that was passed on from, you know, growing up. My mom and my uncle would be listening to the Gap Band, so it was just like a cool, way to see Charlie Wilson from there being featured on the song. So that was like one of my favorites, "Upside Your Head,"
all
yeah,
right.
Doggyland and Groupie.
Okay. For me, the single I gotta go with Vapors. That I think is a
Yeah,
very good song, but didn't have the best beat in my opinion, but it's still just good song. And the story, the
yeah,
fact that he was able to take what Bismarck he did and do it in the present day during that time with him and his crew. I thought was pretty
yeah,
amazing. He's
yeah. That's
he's
what I like too.
yeah. I mean he's done that before. We've seen with
Lottie
Lottie
Dottie.
Dottie,
Yeah,
Slick Rick. So definitely he definitely shows
he pays
love.
homage to
He
the
pays
old
homage to the
school
old school
pioneers.
before him. So
Yeah,
that's pretty good. So I like
definitely.
that one. The second one I got to go with was Up Jump the Boogie. Got an
Yeah,
interesting
that one was cool too.
Yeah, I got an interesting story behind that one, and it kind of just stuck. And then um, it was very tough because I really like Blueberry a lot, but I got to make that an honorable mention because the thing is, he didn't drop any vocals in that song. So
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's a great song.
Well,
I like the song a lot. Don't get me wrong, but if I'm going with a song that he had vocals in, uh, I gotta go with the freestyle conversation, the toss up between the freestyle conversation and the Snoop bounce. I like at the beginning how the freestyle conversation, it was kind of funny. Like, wait, beats?
yeah,
That's what makes me or I
yeah,
thought that was pretty funny.
You know what? And yeah, and we'll get into the freestyle conversation because I have that in a separate category.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. But what was the up jump the boogie
Okay,
background on
so
that?
Up Jump the Boogie, you remember the Rap Attack on Power 106, right? I think the Poor
Yeah.
Man hosted it. Yeah, yeah. So it came on. I mean, I think the Poor Man was gone by then, but I mean, I forget who was doing it at that time. But it came on the Rap Attack, and it won like for consecutive weeks that
Oh,
they had
okay.
to retire it, and it was just a real catchy ass song. It wasn't a single, but you know, like how the Rap Attack they would just break out just random songs from
Yeah.
somewhere, and
Oh, yeah.
they would battle it against some other song, and then you
Yeah.
would call in the vote or whatever, and then at the end of like 8:30 or 9 o'clock, they'd have like a winner. So yeah, I
Yeah.
remember hearing it on the Rap Attack for that amount of weeks, and I just always thought it should have been a single. Like
Yeah.
he and Corrupt did a really good job with the song, and I mean, to this day, it's one of my favorite, Snoop Dogg songs. It's my favorite one off this album, that's for sure. And
Yeah, that's one I do like as well.
yeah,
Once again, for the beat, it
mm,
has like that G-funk feel to it,
yeah,
that
definitely.
West Coast feel, and that's what I liked about it as well. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's also one of my favorite songs on there.
yeah. I know one of the songs "Up Jump the Biggie" beat on the Rap Attack was "More Money, More Problems," but that was before that even blew up. So,
Oh, okay.
so I mean, so
Yeah,
yeah, so that's why I had to go with "Up Jump the Boogie" there. And then, I mean, just like I said, freestyle conversation. Like I said, I just like the beginning, and then just uh delicate beats. So that's what makes me now, man. I don't give a fuck about no beat.
yeah. And see, and that's what I think. Even back then, during that time, people were already
Mm,
giving him shit about the type of beats that Dre's not going to be producing for this album, this and that. So I think people were just laying it on him, like, man,
hmm
like you're not going to have a Dre beat on this album. Is it going to do well? And I think that's where he kind of just came out with that introduction on that song. That's what inspired him to say, what he said.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean, definitely. I think he and Dr. Dre spending time away from one another. It did a lot for his career, just overall. Even
it
during the
did.
little time he's had with Death Row before going to No Limit. So
Yeah,
I think it did a lot. I think he learned a lot. So I mean, I think that time he did spend away from Dre. I think they did real good for his career.
it did. And it also showed the world that he didn't need to rely on Dre,
Yeah,
all the time
yeah,
for production.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. He
that's what it
definitely.
did.
Yeah, some of my other favorite Snoop Dogg albums obviously were without Dre. So,
Yeah.
so I thought that was pretty cool. And then, Doggy Land. What'd you love about that one?
I liked how he was basically it was mainly the lyrics.
Okay, the lyrics.
Yeah, the
Okay.
lyrics, how he was talking about a place where everything was just like real easygoing. He was basically painting a picture of the perfect world in his eyes,
Mm,
or the perfect place, I guess, like Doggyland.
yeah.
Just talking about different things, how, you know, certain things could be free here, or you can live stress free over here. And I think that's what he was just aiming at, just like a perfect little getaway.
Pretty cool. And then Ain't No Fun Part 2, aka Groupie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty much what it was in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think for this one, I felt like it was less vulgar compared to Ain't No
Yeah,
Fun.
yeah, it was
Ain't No
definitely,
Fun.
yeah, Ain't No Fun was way more vulgar than this one, so
Yeah. So what I liked about Groupie was, once again, the production. It was just a smooth beat by Daz, and I always like that style of G Funk right there.
yeah.
And I like how Corrupt starts off, and I liked when Nate Dogg comes out with the in the bridge section of the
Mm,
song, and then after Nate Dogg sings his short verse, Snoop Dogg jumps in.
yeah.
And I think I just liked all the verses on the song. The beat was one of my favorites, and just it was just stuck out as one of my favorites that I always go to this day. I have it on
Yeah.
rotation
Yeah,
on my
that's a good song,
playlist.
definitely. It sounds a little similar. I know there's a song on Nate Dogg's G Funk Classics, the volume 2. It's called Dog Pound Gangsterville with Corrupt and Snoop Dogg. kind of reminds me of that one a little bit. But
Oh,
I
okay.
know
I have to check
Superfly.
that one out again.
You gotta check
Yeah.
that one out. It's a one of my favorites from that one, and Superfly produced it, I believe. But
Oh, okay. Yeah, Superfly is a good one too.
yeah,
He came out with quite a few good productions.
yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, definitely check that one out. Kind of reminds me of that one. And it was a pretty good
Okay,
song.
yeah.
It's not a song every day where you get the whole Dog Pound Gangsta Click or DPGC, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
them, on a track.
And
So it's a pretty
that's
good
what I
track.
liked. All of them were on there. Corrupt, Daz,
Yeah,
Nate,
can't
Warren
be mad
D
at
too.
can't be
Yeah.
mad at you for that one.
Yeah.
So and then so anyway, so those were our favorites for the most part. So yeah, I guess my third one would have to be freestyle conversation. Honorable mention: Snoop Bounce and Blueberry. So Snoop Bounce had a nice rockin' beat, West Coast beat to it, and I think like we've been saying, I think a lot of the beats on this album are just underrated. Just because Dre didn't do it doesn't mean like it
Yeah, I
wasn't
agree.
like not
Yeah,
everything from the West Coast has to come from Dre. There have been platinum artists that have done it without a Dr. Dre beat.
exactly.
R.I.P.
That's
Coolio.
yeah. Yeah, R.I.P. Coolio for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, anyway, so album cuts and expansion. So I was when doing research for this album, I found a list of tracks. Some I guess have gone retail, others, just you can find on YouTube. So I'm gonna name some of these tracks. Maybe you've heard them, maybe you haven't. I'm pretty sure you've heard some of them. There was a song called "Work It Out," which featured Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq, and Mr.
Oh,
Grimm.
okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
Dog Collar featuring Lady V, KB, Big Pimpin', 6ix9ine, Twin, and Badass. This was released on the bonus CD for Dr. Dre's Chronic Relit.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know if you ever heard
Yeah, I
that
remember.
one.
Yeah, I think I remember that one.
Yeah, just it was. I guess he did the Chronic, and then it came with like a Relit CD, so it had some songs on there. I guess this was one of the songs. I barely just heard some of it yesterday, so so let's see. There was a song called Street Life with Tupac, Val Young, and Prince Idol Joe. Um, it sounded all right. I mean, I think it was a yeah that was definitely a cut song. Just Watching, and that was featuring Tupac, the Dog Pound, and Charlie Wilson. Then
That one I'm gonna have to check out again.
yeah, and then Out the Moon. I'm pretty sure these songs you've heard. Out the Moon. This was performed with him. This was actually an LBC Crew song featuring Snoop Dogg, Superfly, and Tupac. It was released on the Gridlock soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
So, and then this is kind of the big one for me that I feel should have been on this album. Wanted Dead or Alive with Tupac.
Yeah, I remember
Luckily
that one
they
too.
luckily they used it for the Gridlock soundtrack. It actually had a pretty good
Yeah.
music video too. That I feel like that's one should have been on the album if they wanted a real Tupac feature, not the outro one that we got.
Yeah.
Um, so
I
those
remember
were some cut tracks.
yeah, the Wanted Dead or Alive, I remember that being on I had gotten a sampler. It was a Gridlock soundtrack sampler
Okay,
back when it came out, well before it came out, the album. They someone passed me that sampler and that song Wanted Dead or Alive was on there. So I remember that one from there.
okay, yeah. So those were some of the songs that did not make the album. Like I said, it's Wanna Dead or Alive. I feel should have made the album. It was a good single. I think it could have been bigger, but definitely with what was going on with Death Row at the time, just I guess they threw it on the Gridlock soundtrack. I
Yeah.
guess, and I mean,
I, I feel like during that time, around this whole '96, everything was just kind of falling apart fast with Death Row, in my opinion.
yeah,
And I think after that, there was a few flops that Death Row was putting out because Dre's gone,
mm,
Pac's passed away. Um, there was a lot, and those were the heavy hitters for Death Row. So without them, it was kind of like a, in a way a ghost town in the record label. Like, well, what are we
yeah,
gonna do now, kind of thing,
yeah.
Um,
So I mean, yeah, I think it was, and we're about to get into recommendations in just a minute, but I feel uh, stuff after Tupac had been murdered could have been handled a lot better, over there,
right.
and just they did what they did. So, um, I mean, it's history now, but I feel like a lot of stuff going on over there internally could have been handled a lot better.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Yeah.
those were the cut tracks that I was able to find. In terms of expansions, I don't think it's been, well, it's probably been reissued on CD several times, but no new tracks have been, or bonus content's been added to the album. It's coming up on a 30-year anniversary soon, so maybe we might get a 30-year vinyl or something. Well, you never know. It's Snoop owns Death Row now, so, and it's his
Yeah, so
music.
hopefully he considers, yeah, putting out a 30-year anniversary. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I know he shows Doggy Style a lot of love with the gear he has for that. Maybe we could see some more from the Godfather. I mean, from the
Yeah.
Dogfather. Yeah, this is a lot. This album has a cult following, so just be careful what you say about it.
Yeah.
All right, so recommendations. So the first one I had to go with was Machiavelli's Don Illuminati, the 7 Day Theory. It came out 2 weeks after this one dropped, same month, so something like that. So I could be wrong, but
Yeah,
yeah,
and going back on that, so yeah, the Machiavelli album, I think that was overshadowing as well for
yeah,
the Dogfather album.
yeah,
I think a lot more people were tuned in to, the passing of Pac, so everyone was like getting, Machiavelli's album, and I think that was kind of a disadvantage for Snoop during this time period for his album.
yeah. Like we just talked about, I think a lot of the stuff going on internally at Death Row. I'm pretty sure if they can go back in time, they would have spread the releases a little more apart
Yeah,
because it's like that's just too close.
it
It's
was too
just too
close.
close.
Yeah,
I mean, Snoop. I mean, like I said, it peaked at number one, went double platinum, but I feel like those were like initial sales. Like after like the initial buzz, I feel like it kind of
yeah,
just dropped off. Like, okay, yeah, I feel this album could have definitely gotten a little more of that treatment. So way too close.
yeah, way too close.
All right, so the Gridlock soundtrack, I just talked about that. Definitely check that one out. A few of the cut tracks from this album appeared on there, so you can go ahead and check that one out. And the movie's all right too. It wasn't. I didn't think it was incredible, but it was all right movie.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that movie when it came out.
And it was more a comedy, so I mean, you do. I mean, Tupac was a good actor during his lifetime, so that was pretty good. Um, so the LBC Crew, haven't you heard? So Blueberry, the song I just talked about, also appears on that album. Unfortunately, that album did not come out until 2011 when doing my research. So, and it was recorded in like the mid 90s. So, kind of just tells you what was going on during that time. At least it came out.
Yeah,
Yeah, so definitely check out the LBC Crew. And then the two obvious ones I decided to put at the end: the Dog Pound's Dog Food. The Dog Pound makes quite a bit of appearances on this album, and Nate Dogg's G Funk Classics Volumes 1 and 2. Also
two
check that
classics
one
right
out.
there. Yep.
So, any recommendations you wanted to add, or
For sure, the dog food album, that was, I would say, check that one out. That's also one of my favorites. A lot of Daz production on there, and it coincides with Snoop. Anytime Snoop drops an album, Corrupt or Daz is, for sure going to be on there.
yeah, definitely, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so closing thoughts on this album before we put this episode to bed. I have a few, and I'm pretty sure you have some as well. So I'll let you go first.
Yeah, if you haven't really listened to this album, I would recommend checking out The Dogfather.
Hmm.
There's quite a few cuts on there. I believe it's 21 or 22 tracks, so it's pretty packed in there. Um, like I said, it's one of my favorite albums. I would choose this over Doggy Style, even though Doggy Style does have a lot of good singles. I just feel like this one was a little bit more hip hop in a sense, less
Hmm.
less gangster as he approached in Doggy Style, I feel like this was a little bit more of a hip hop approach. You
Okay.
know, his rhyme scheme, his lyrics, the content, is probably one of my favorites between the two.
All right. All right. That's fair. That's fair. And for me, if I'm recommending someone to get into Snoop for the first time, I'll definitely tell them Doggy Style. That's just me. I mean, I like this album a lot, but I think it's a great album. Don't get me wrong. Just it just wasn't maybe not a classic. And I think for me, what really did it for me after listening to it, and after doing all my research for the album and everything, and this is just me. Y'all can beat me up in the comments later. You can beat me up right now, Ray, since we're discussing it. I think it just had way too many features.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
it
yeah, it
did.
did
It
have
didn't.
quite a few.
It didn't feel like a solo Snoop Dogg album to me. Like you hear, like in like later on albums, like say "Paid the Cost to Be the Boss," or
Yeah,
I just feel like it just had way too many features. Not to say
I,
that there's anything wrong with that, but it
I
felt
think
more
too.
like a compilation in some
I see.
sense, as opposed to an album.
I think I think for Death Row during that time, I think that's what it was about too. Like with the
Hmm.
Chronic, there was quite a few features on there.
Yeah,
I think it was more like a West Coast type thing, maybe for Death Row especially. They kind of wanted to make it like a gangster party sort of.
yeah.
Like
I mean, it made
I,
sense for like the Chronic. I feel like looking back on
that's
it,
true.
because I mean, he was
It was like his
introducing these
debut.
artists, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
Dr.
true. You're
Dre.
right.
But I mean, for Snoop, I feel I'm not saying that not having any features at all. I think features are always a good thing, but
Yeah,
I feel like he didn't make it his own.
that's
But
true. Yeah, you have a good point with that.
so I mean, that's why. But I mean, it's a good album. Don't get me wrong, but it just felt more like a compilation effort to me in some sense. But obviously the solo tracks that he does have on there, like Snoop Bounce, Snoop's Upside Your Head, those songs are incredible. But even like songs like my favorite song, Up Jump the Boogie, like I feel like he didn't need Corrupt to do that middle verse. It was a good
Yeah,
song, but I mean,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
so that's where I'm coming from with it.
yeah. I feel you on that. Yeah,
So, but it was good. It was a good album, though. Definitely. All right. So, great discussion today. I mean, I'm glad I got that
yeah,
off
for
my
sure, man.
chest. All right.
Yeah.
For Ray, aka Vandal Society, I'm Justin. Tooth off for you, fool. Thank you for watching. Thank you for
Thank you
listening.
guys. Make
We'll
sure you
see
guys
y'all on the
like and
next one.
comment.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely drop us a comment, like all that good stuff. See y'all on the next one. Peace out.
Later on.